Well, good afternoon, everybody. I've got 4 o'clock, and I'll be respectful of your time and start on time. Thank you all for being here today. It's the start of a process for us with 4 congregational meetings, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But for those that don't know, my name is Buddy Riegel. I'm the chair of the Pastor Search Committee. Before I introduce our transitional guy, Joe Yeldon, I will share a couple of comments about the process and where we are right now. But before I do so, just for the benefit of the folks in the room, I want to introduce the rest of the committee and their roles. And when I call your name, I'll ask you to stand so people can see and identify you. So, Vice Chair is Sarah LaCroix. Our Secretary is Andrew Loudermilk, who's running the AV in the back for us as well. Thank you, Andrew. Bill Lennon is our Communications Coordinator. Lottie Beasley is our Prayer Coordinator. And Carolyn Little is one of our alternates. She's the door prize ticket passer outer. And Katie Gwaltney is also an alternate, and Katie is ill today, so she is not with us. So as I mentioned a couple of Sundays ago, the committee has been meeting almost every single Monday since early July. And we've made tremendous progress in preparing for and planning the recruitment process. I had previously committed or communicated that we would post the job, put the job posting up in the month of September. However, the committee discussed that, and we decided that we wanted to wait until after this first congregational meeting to put the posting up. So the feedback collected from the congregation in this meeting is part of that process. So we'll make any changes that are required that materially change the job posting, but our goal is to have that job posting up this week so that we can start recruiting and receiving candidate resumes. I'd also like to mention that this is the first of 4 meetings. The 4 meetings are not 4 of the same meetings. They are sequential. So we'd like for you to be at as many as possible. We know things come up and you might not be able to be at all of them. We do not have the ability to live stream in this room, but we are recording the session. So those folks that are unable to be with us today will have access to the link later this week, and they can come back and watch this meeting. I'd also like to reiterate the dates for the upcoming meetings. They are November 17th, that is a Sunday at 4 p.m., just like today. January 19th, also a Sunday at 4 p.m. And then we obviously rescheduled the October meeting because of the storm. That meeting is now going to be on February 12th. This is a new date that's not been publicized, so jot that down. It'll be a Wednesday night, and we will do a celebratory meal as part of the conclusion of the process. I've mentioned the quilt, but I would like to personally thank Lottie for putting that together. Great job. You've also seen some of the prayer posters that are around the church of late. Lottie is responsible for the creation with Kaylee's assistant of putting those together. And I believe we're going to have some banners coming here in not too distant future too. So thank you, Lottie, for all you're doing. Lastly, let me remind you of the homework assignment that I gave you all back in September. And remember, it wasn't a big homework assignment, but you had to go out in the parking lot and get in your car, and for 15 seconds, you had to look out your windshield. We have these big windshields in our car where we're looking forward and we're looking at what's coming, and we have these really small rear view mirrors where we look behind us or we look at what's past. You're going to hear me say that at least 3 more times because we've got 3 more meetings, but I'm just trying to remind everybody that this committee and this church is looking forward to what's next for First Baptist. So now, without further ado, let me introduce our transitional guide, Reverend Joe Yeldon. Joe's schooling began at Western Carolina University and proceeded through Southeastern Seminary and the Drew University School of Divinity. He started as a youth leader at McGill Avenue Baptist Church in Concord, North Carolina, and his pastorate career in a small town in Virginia. He then returned to Cullowhee to pastor a college-centric church before finishing his career at Hominy Baptist Church outside of Asheville before retirement. Joe is currently supporting the First Baptist Church at Silva as their interim pastor as they are in a search process as well. Joe has been married to his wife, Corinne, a nurse practitioner for 44 years. Congratulations, sir. He and Corinne have 2 adult children, and as of May 8th of this year, 1 grandchild. Congratulations again. In his spare time, Joe loves to travel and do yard work, and he also dedicates time as a shepherding pastor to the Asheville Buncombe Community Christian Ministries, a social network comprised of 260 churches. Joe has spent time in person with the committee during 2 of our meetings thus far, as well as several conversations and text messages. I've had the pleasure of the additional dialogue with Joe as committee chair, and he is incredibly insightful, supportive, caring, encouraging, and I'm now personally thankful that I can call you friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Joe Yeller.
Hi, everyone. I have to tell you that I'm very clear on the fact that you folks are in a position to become a little bit haughty because you have, I think, the best pastor selection committee I've encountered, ever. And we all know that when it comes to a committee, the thumb of the hand is the chair, and certainly Buddy fills that role perfectly. I'm grateful for that too. He's extraordinary. He's kept me in the loop. I feel very much involved, and I have fallen for your committee. I really have. They are just excellent people. Got to tell you though, we are on a great journey that's going to take us to some good places. But it makes sense that we determine first why we're on the journey. And you say, well, we're on it because we need a pastor. Well, okay. But there is a connecting of the decades and decades of history of this church with the decades and decades of the future of this church that are culminating right here in you. And I'm here as a representative of North Carolina CBF. Grateful for that beautiful organization. But you may not know this. You may. I don't know how much information you've been given about this. But this process, this 4-stage process congregationally, and as Buddy's already said, there are other meetings going on between myself and your committee. And this committee has been meeting for months, every week. But this process that you're in, that we're in right now tonight, you're the first church ever to walk this stage. This is a test run. So let's get it right. And let's do what we can to be happy about it. I want to bear with me just a moment. I was hoping that Buddy would just brag a whole lot more. I was giving him 10 more minutes to say wonderful things about me, so I was unprepared.
I was in a few words.
Well, right, you said more than I was worthy of. Anyway, I want to read something from the Psalms. It's a verse that you've read so many times, but it's important that we realize what we're really up to tonight. From the 127th Psalm, listen to verse 1. You say, oh, I've heard that. I know, but tonight, let's hear it differently. If the Lord does not build the house, the work of the builders is useless. If the Lord does not protect the city, it does no good for the sentries to stand guard. In other words, what we really have to get right in the coming months, that the committee has been doing right in recent months, what we really have to get right is discerning what God is up to. That's what our work is as a congregation. If the Lord does not build the house, the work of the builders, well, it's just kind of useless. We don't want to be useless, do we? Of course not. Now, over in Matthew 7, Jesus gives one of those parables that for whatever reason, if you ask people who don't know the scripture well to name 3 of the parables of Jesus, they're probably going to say, well, there's the Good Samaritan. And then, let's see, what else would it be? You tell me. I've got one in mind, but you tell me, what would another parable that most people, even not frequently involved in Scripture, would be able to say?
The prodigal son.
The prodigal son, which is a personal favorite. But there's that third one. The 2 men who built their homes, one upon rock, one upon sand. Now, I'm reminded of a children's parable from that parable. I used to share it with my children as they were tiny, and my daughter got to the point where she would say, Daddy, tell me the story of the house that caved in. And I would recite this. Let's see if I can get it right. 3 little houses, 3 little pigs, straw, wood, and bricks. The big bad wolf comes sniffing all around. He said, I'm going to blow that straw house down. So he huffed and he puffed, but once was enough. And he blew the straw house to smithereens, and he sat right down with fatback greens. 2 little houses.